Kate Moody is here in studio. Kate, you're taking us back to our top story tonight. Donald Trump arriving in Beijing for that highly anticipated visit. He's accompanied by a large delegation of business leaders. Tell us who they are and what does all of this tell us about what's going to be on the agenda there?
Well, Sharon, it's some of the world's richest people and heads of some of the world's richest companies, from Wall Street to Silicon Valley. Elon Musk, Jensen Huang of NVIDIA, Tim Cook of Apple, top executives from Boeing, GE Aerospace, Qualcomm, BlackRock, Visa, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs. All of those people there with the U.S. president on this trip. We know that Donald Trump will be pressuring his Chinese counterpart to buy more American products, from planes to agricultural products. Technology will be front and center, and specifically the question of whether NVIDIA will be allowed to sell its advanced microchips in China after years of restrictions. The Wall Street Journal has been reporting that the two sides are considering setting up some kind of dialogue about the risks posed by artificial intelligence, plus the building blocks of nearly all of that technology, rare earths. China has a near monopoly on processing those minerals, and all the business leaders in the U.S. delegation have an interest in making sure that China continues to export them. So, what are rare earths and why do they matter? Yuka Royer explains.
Names like cerium and neodymium seldom crop up in everyday conversations. Yet the 17 chemical elements near the bottom of the periodic table are vital for everyday devices, from cars to LED lights to data cables.
They're often described as the vitamins or the spice of industry because they have, over the past several decades, they've enabled, through advances in material science, our technologies to get smaller and faster and stronger and more resilient.
These metals that are used to make magnets are not that rare, but mining them is extremely polluting. It can generate up to 2,000 times more toxic waste than the amount produced, posing a huge environmental challenge to many countries. Under its authoritarian system, China has a virtual monopoly in the rare earth industry. According to the International Energy Agency, it accounts for nearly 60% of the metals mined globally and more than 90% of their refining and processing. And for years, Beijing has used its dominant power as leverage, repeatedly targeting specific countries, sectors, or companies with restrictive measures. Last year, China introduced 2 waves of export curbs for the minerals. The move, while officially for national security reasons, demonstrated its economic muscles at the height of a trade war with Washington.
U.S. administration and President Trump and all his colleagues has finally realized, okay, we need to find a way to coexist peacefully with China. Because China can do harms to U.S. as well, like you said, rare earths and many other things.
If no agreement is reached this week, China's rare earth restrictions are slated to kick back in November and December, weeks after the U.S. midterm elections.
The U.S. Senate has approved Kevin Warsh as the next chairman of the U.S. Federal Reserve. The vote was largely along party lines, with just one Democrat voting in favor. Take a listen.
The ayes are 54, the nays are 45. The nomination is confirmed.
Now, that confirmation process had been held up because of objections to a criminal investigation into the outgoing chair, Jerome Powell. That probe, which was linked to renovations of the central bank building, was dropped in order to clear the way just a few weeks ago. Donald Trump has repeatedly pressured Powell to cut interest rates, and he suggested that Warsh would be more likely to do so. But with inflation jumping to 3.8% in April, many economists say the data may not give him the flexibility to do so. At his confirmation hearing in April, Warsh said he would not necessarily do the president's bidding.
Are you going to be the president's human sock puppet?
Senator, absolutely not.
Are you going to be anybody's human sock puppet?
No, I'm honored the president nominated me for the position, and I'll be an independent actor if confirmed as chairman of the Federal Reserve.
Powell's term does end on Friday, but unlike his predecessors, he has said he will remain on the Fed board as a governor. That means he'll continue to weigh in on policy. He said he would likely stay until he was sure that all possible legal actions were officially resolved. Let's check in on the day's trading action now. Oil prices have fallen slightly, although both US WTI and the international benchmark Brent crude are still well above the $100 per barrel mark. This, as the International Energy Agency said global oil supply would not meet demand this year. Wall Street closed mostly higher. The tech-heavy Nasdaq up over 1%. The S&P 500 notching up a new record high earlier in the session. The major European indices closed higher. We saw yields on UK government bonds rising amid that political uncertainty for Keir Starmer's leadership. France's unemployment rate, meanwhile, rose above 8% in the first 3 months of the year. That is the highest level in 5 years, Sharon.